What's up? Bradley Aidan Johnson here with a video that leads into the badge method training program. Within the program, I have taken a step that I think is necessary for training programs to realize and reach and do that they haven't done to date, to my understanding and knowledge, based on the ones that I've seen and used. A lot of them suggest it, but they don't go far enough to make sure that it is totally removed, which is removing weight as a training variable. What I mean by that, I specifically mean by that, is that every program that people will follow will tell them what to do with weight. How quickly should I add weight? Should I add weight? What's the rate of progression? The problem with that is it's different for every person, and it's different for every person based on the day. So every person will progress differently, and every person will progress differently based on what time they're progressing at. So there's no way for you to set anything that even resembles an accurate progression protocol for any person, as every person is completely different. The best you can do is get closer and closer to something that is generally one size fits all. But in the world that we live in, percentages math exists, and Excel is a powerful document. So rather than try and go in the middle of the road and telling someone to add about this much weight based on if this happens, why not just not and remove it from their decision? What I mean by that is, if we use the only two training variables that matter, in my opinion, which is reps completed and RPE completing them, training at any given weight will tell you how strong that person is and allow you to program the next weight for the next time. So if you remove it from their hands, that way they always train at the correct weight. And that way, when the weight in fact does increase, it's legitimate because they actually have become that much stronger. And it gets out of the cycle of increasing weight and having it as be a reward for the people that train. So people get into the habit of increasing weight, to the point of, when I remove weight from the bar for trainees, they feel that I punish them all the time. When I say, okay, we're going to train, so I'm going to drop 20%, I'm going to do 80% of sets just to try and clean up the reps. They're like, oh man, they feel like they were punished, because every protocol that I've had them on to date increases weight in some way, shape or form linearly. It could be add 2.5 kilograms, add 1.25 kilograms, add half a kilogram every time. It could be add weight based on how many reps you got last time. Whatever it is, it's always add weight, add weight, add weight. It always goes like this. That's the point. But why would you create a curve that goes up like this and forces people to overload in that way, when we know and understand that there's no necessity to reach or in any way get close to failure in order to create a progressive adaptive response? There's no need for a person to adapt to failure. So why would you go anywhere near it when all it does is lead to other uglier artifacts within their training? Just keep them within the range, that sweet spot, where they're training and it's hard, and then they do it again. And then after a while, if that training becomes not hard enough, then you increase the weight. Also, allowing for additional reps means that even on that day, you don't lose anything. For instance, if you're training and you're going for a general type of training protocol where you want to add a bit of strength, but you also want to build a muscle, want to build a single muscle, want to build some muscle. So you're training in around a 4 or 5 rep range arena, right? So you come to the gym and generally do 4 or 5 reps. So you go to a 30 kilogram bench press, say, and whatever, let's say 50, I like a number. You do a 50 kilogram bench press, you do 1, 2, 3, 4, next day you do 5, next day you do 4, it depends on what day you are. Every time you're doing it, you're going to RPE, let's say 8. So you're leaving 2 reps in the tank. Eventually you'll get to a point where you'll do 5 and you'll be like, you know what, that was more of an RPE 7. At that point in time, my training program would say, okay, you've done 5 reps, which is a bit over, which is the higher end of what you're aiming for in terms of rep ranges. You've said RPE 7, which is a bit low on the RPE scale, meaning this weight is now insufficient for you, yeah? What you would have done at that point is either stopped by mistake and written down RPE 7, but you also have the facility to do another rep. And that means your training protocol for that day means you still got a good training because you did 6 reps when before you would have done 5, and you still said, maybe you said RPE 8 at that point, or in that time you might have done a 5 and said RPE 7 if you came away from it with a mistake. So here's all the different possibilities and what they will lead to. You bang out 4 and it's an RPE like 8. right? That's where you want to be. You bang out 5 and it's an RPE 8. That's roughly still where you want to be. You bang out 5 and it's an RPE 7.5. That's a bit lower than you want the rate of perceived exertion to be, at the same time as being at the upper threshold. What that suggests is that the weight maybe is a little bit light. Based on what fractional plates you have available to you, the program might increase the weight a little bit, just to keep you in that sweet spot. If you don't have many fractional plates available to you, it will leave you there and wait until you make a significant jump up in strength and ability in order for you to go up in weight. So you have to earn your weight increase by how excellently you train and how strong you actually are. But you shouldn't think of it in terms of trying to earn it. You should just think of it in terms of training and being honest with yourself. That way, when you do legitimately improve, you have legitimately improved. Whereas if I set you and tell you to go from a 50 kilogram squat up to a 52.5 kilogram squat, maybe your 50 kilogram squat is just good enough, right, for an RPE 9 5 reps. But you could do an RPE 9 5 reps or 9.5 5 reps at 52.5, but you don't quite go as deep, your squats aren't as sure, you're rocking back and forward in heels. That their squat is generally really ugly. It's not a pretty sight, right? You should probably have stayed at that lower weight and become more excellent at that in order to facilitate a legitimate increase of weight. But you've gone up, and now you're starting to ingrain poor lifting into your protocols. Now there is an argument for, reps completed and weight lifted over form, but every one of those arguments eventually gets to a point where you've gone too far. And so why would you force people to find where that too far is when they can just train and get better and better over time and become better and sweeter at what they do? The problem with a lot of training for people that just lift weights in the gym is that they come from this new Western mentality of 6-week training program, get ripped in 10 weeks, put on this much muscle in this much time. They don't realize that actually it takes a long time to achieve anything through any form of training. And there's no way to escape that. Any program that says you can is lying to you. Just because a program makes your weight increase quickly over time, it doesn't mean you're getting stronger or you're improving the rate at which you get stronger. It's just tricking you into believing you're doing better than you actually are. So if you can get people out of that mentality by making them train in a way that matches their strength and goals and current performance, and get them doing it over and over again, they will get better faster than they otherwise would have and get legitimate increases in the weight and the reps, maybe, whatever the protocol is, a rate that makes sense to them. Meaning they never get that sense of failing at the weight. They shouldn't get that feeling of spinning their wheels, because even if you are at the same weight, every time that you do the reps, you should be noticing it is getting easier. So you're not afraid of it. The first time, that first time you do a weight that you haven't done before and it's a bit scary, and then you do it again, it's like, oh, it's this again, so you're not scared of it. You'll get that psychological feeling of, oh yes, this, I can do this. Or you'll increase really very slightly just to match the way in which you feel doing it. The point of the whole thing and what I'm trying to say is, you shouldn't add weight as a thing that determines your training. Weight increasing over and over and over and over again is not sustainable for any novice. So you shouldn't introduce them to it as a protocol. What the training should seek to do, if it's skilled, like any good coach would, is find a weight appropriate to that person, hold them there and improve the weight, increase the weight when it becomes necessary for their continued progression. I found a way of mathematically expressing that and doing that, and that is part of the training program for going forward, but I will be putting people on. Hopefully that helps. It's an explanation of the theory so people understand why they're doing it and why I've removed weight from that part of the program. Peace.